how they got to be billion-dollar insurance companies. If you've been injured, I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
ALS is a progressive and neurodegenerative disease, and we need your help to find a cure. The mission of the ALS Association, Louisiana-Mississippi chapter, is to discover treatments and a cure for ALS, and to serve, advocate for, and empower people affected by ALS to live their lives to the fullest. Whether you are newly diagnosed, a military veteran, a caregiver, or someone looking to learn more about how to navigate living with ALS, they can help. Visit als.org to learn more. That's als.org.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Brought to you by Sigara Farms Premium Beef. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and fired up you're hanging out with us here as we are working towards the weekend. Lots to do on this Thursday. 15 minutes from right now, we'll go to Luke Johnson, who is covering the New Orleans Saints. Excited to talk to Luke about a story that he's working on and has been over the last week or so. Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team, will set the stage for the SEC weekend to come at 1:30. Coastal Carolina is giving away free concessions. I want to talk about that. We'll do it a little bit later on in the show. I want to look at the roster construction of these Final Four teams and how they've come together. What are the elites in college basketball doing, and what can LSU learn from that? Chris Blair from Norman, Oklahoma, an hour and 15 minutes from right now. Let's start this thing up talking LSU and Oklahoma with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
You know, weirdly enough, the LSU-Oklahoma rivalry has provided some amazing moments over the last 10 years, 12 years, if you really want to extend it to the actuality of it. But in the recent past, LSU and Oklahoma played in Houston in the Astros Collegiate Classic in 2022, and Jordan Thompson had a walk-off home run in the 11th inning. Pretty dramatic game in that season. You go back to 2020, right before COVID shut down the whole world. I was in, at that point, Minute Maid Field and watched Dylan Acker throw a no-hitter against LSU for Oklahoma. It was dreadful. I hated every second of it. People always go, oh, you get to see a no-hitter. Was that cool? No, it wasn't cool. My team didn't get a hit for 2.5 hours. But it was noteworthy. And then if you go back to 2013, which now 12 years ago, to me, the best ball game ever played in the new Alec Box Stadium in its now 16-year history took place in the Super Regional, Aaron Nola, Jonathan Gray, LSU, Oklahoma, Game 1. It was every bit as dramatic and intense and well-pitched as we thought it could be leading up when you had two guys that would eventually be top 10 selections in the Major League Draft dueling that night at the box. And Aaron Nola bettered Jonathan Gray that night. LSU won the game 2-0. Nolan threw a complete game shutout. LSU finally broke through against Gray in either the 7th or the 8th inning. Jacoby Jones hit a big triple. Tyler Moore had a big hit into right center field. I was in the press box that night, and again, it's my favorite game that the new box has ever hosted. And that was LSU and Oklahoma. And now they'll do battle tonight as conference rivals. And while it's not Gray and Nola tonight, you're looking at one of the best pitching matchups in college baseball tonight. If you go over to D1 Baseball's page today, you'll see that they've released their midseason All-America teams. You'll see the National Pitcher of the Year at midseason is Kyson Witherspoon of Oklahoma. He will start tonight. You'll see second team All-American, Cade Anderson, LSU. He will pitch tonight. Now I want to talk about Kyson Witherspoon here briefly. I've watched him a lot this year. I got word. Well, I didn't know who Kyson Witherspoon was last year. I didn't know who one of Oklahoma's weekend rotation guys was. He's pitching in the Big 12. I follow the SEC very closely, as I think y'all know. I don't know what's going on day to day in the ACC, the Big 12, or the Big 10. I can find things out. I know some things that are going on at Clemson right now. They've got one of the best players in the country in center field. Like I know that Jamie Arnold at Florida State's sensational, but like I don't follow the whole country until I need to. So I didn't know of Kyson Witherspoon last year, but I heard about him quickly in the offseason and made a point now twice this year to watch full outings of his. And he's legit. He's really good. Witherspoon last year was a good pitcher for Oklahoma. Struck out 90 and 84 innings, was a solid piece to their rotation. And he went over to Team USA and was great. And he went to Cape Cod and was great. And he came back and he has pitched in the first 7 weekends of this season, and he has been great. His fastball is up to 97 miles an hour. It comfortably sits 95, 96. And then he has got a devastating, short, hard slider that really tunnels well with that fastball. The fastball is going to ride, and the slider is going to bite a lot. He will throw a curveball. Like the slider's like 90 miles an hour. He'll throw a curveball at like 78, 79 that kind of loops, but it's just for effect. It's not like a devastating pitch, just to keep that in the back of the hitter's mind, but he wants to go with power stuff. And I can tell you how LSU teaches hitting. They teach where you watch the ball out of the hand, and for them against Witherspoon, the key is going to see the ball up. Because if you see something down towards the knees, it very well could be that slider that's going to disappear. And if you try to swing at that pitch, you're going to have no chance. So to hit against Witherspoon tonight for LSU, they're going to have to see the ball elevated at or above the belt. You're going to have to attack fastballs when he makes mistakes, and then you're going to have to be disciplined enough to understand when that slider is going to disappear. And all of that is very, very, very much easier said than done. The arm that LSU sees tonight is as good an arm as they will see all season long. Liam Doyle is certainly in that equation for Tennessee. You'll see him in a few weeks. And there are others in the Southeastern Conference that are very talented. And LSU saw Pico Khan last week, who's very good. But Kyson Witherspoon is probably going to be the second highest drafted pitcher that LSU sees. I think Doyle will probably be first. He's left-handed and throws a little bit harder. But either way, it's splitting hairs. Witherspoon this year has been really good. Now, Alabama got to him better than anyone else has this season last week. He threw 4 innings. He gave up 5 hits and 4 runs. 3 of those were earned. He struck out 6, and he walked 3. I told you last week before LSU faced Mississippi State that Pico Khan outdueled Kyson Witherspoon the week before that when Oklahoma and Mississippi State played in Norman. That game, Kyson Witherspoon, in a game that Oklahoma lost, he threw 6 2/3 innings against Mississippi State, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs. Only one of the runs was earned. He struck out 11 and walked 1. For the season, Kyson Witherspoon, 64 strikeouts to 10 walks. It's been a really, really good go for him. So this is, I think, exciting if you're an LSU fan to see how LSU matches up. I thought LSU did a really good job against Jared Spencer 2 weeks ago in Austin. I thought LSU was not great against Pico Khan. They did hit the 2 home runs, and that matters, and Anthony Ianson made it stand up to his credit. He gave way to Zach Cowan, who was it Cowan? No, it was Kazan Evans in that game, who was great, and you won the game 2-1. But you'd like to do a little bit more damage than they did. They'll get an opportunity against a true SEC ace tonight. As far as Cade Anderson goes, he's got to be a little bit better than he was last week. His bugaboo this year has been the home run ball. Gave up 3 against Mississippi State. Texas ran 1 out of the yard on him. That's been something that has plagued him just a little bit. It hasn't been a consistent hit barrage. It's been guys hitting mistakes out of the ballpark. And Oklahoma's not a huge threat to do that. They're 11th in the SEC in home run hitting, so they don't do a lot of slugging, which is a good thing for Cade Anderson. And another positive thing about this matchup, Oklahoma far and away leads the SEC in stolen bases in attempts and steals this year. They are 13 clear of second-place Kentucky as far as stealing bases. They want to run a lot. And while I don't know if Luis Hernandez is an elite catch-and-throw guy, Anderson's left-handed and has a very good move. So as long as Cade Anderson's in the game, you can neutralize to an extent Oklahoma's running game. Now, as quickly as you go to Zach Cowan, as quickly as you go to Kaysen Evans, as quickly as you go to Maverick Rizzi, that advantage goes out the door. They will run against those guys if they get them on base. And I'm more concerned with some of the guys down the line in LSU's pitching staff. You're talking about Rizzi, talking about Schmidt, who's probably not available to go in this game after pitching on Tuesday. It's some of the right-handers out of the bullpen who have struggled to throw strikes. Because if you walk a guy against Oklahoma, you are essentially basically throwing a double to most of their team. You're looking at an Oklahoma lineup that really, it's not like one guy who's got 21 steals in 21 games. The whole lineup likes to run. And they've got, I believe, 6 guys with 7+ steals. Yeah, that's the number. So it's really everybody that wants to get up and run. Kyle Branch is 10 for 10 on stolen base attempts. Jason Walk, who's their leadoff man, that'll be an easy one to remember. His last name is Walk, and he's a leadoff guy. He's 9 for 14 on stolen bases. Dawson Willis has 12 steals. Like, you get the point. I'm not asking you to learn all these names, but I mean, Trey Gamble, 9 of 9 on steals. The whole lineup wants to run, and you can't walk guys that want to steal bases. You're handing them scoring position, basically. So I like the matchup tonight for Cade Anderson. They shouldn't hurt him much on the long ball. And a lot of what they do, he can neutralize because he's left-handed, 1, and 2, he's got a really good move. And then Luis Hernandez will have to do a good job behind the home plate of catching and throwing. And honestly, Jay Johnson's going to have to be aware of some pitch-out situations. And they may want to do a little bit of that depending on count and when guys run. That's all part of the film study that you'll do on Oklahoma. As far as guys to concern yourself with this Oklahoma lineup, I mentioned Trey Gamble, who's 9 of 9 on steals. He's hitting .377 this year, only 1 home run. The 2 leading hitters on this team for Oklahoma are not going to slug. That's Kyle Branch and Trey Gamble. They both have 1 home run. They're hitting over .330. Jackson Willits is the number 3 hitter in this lineup. He's got 8 home runs, and he's hitting .312, so there is a little bit of slug there. I mentioned Jason Walk. You got to keep that guy on base. He will really get on base a lot, and he'll make your life miserable when he does so. So it's a team that does things a little bit differently. But as far as tonight's game goes, because we'll break down the rest of the series coming up tomorrow, as far as tonight's game goes, this is a heavyweight battle of starting pitchers. And it's a good test for LSU early on to see if they can do, again, what they've done the last 2 weeks and take on a really tough arm and win behind Cade Anderson. I'm curious to see how it shakes out. So it'll be Kyson Witherspoon and Cade Anderson tonight from Norman, Oklahoma. We'll go up to Norman coming up in an hour and 10 minutes from right now with Chris Blair. He'll be on the call tonight, so we'll chat with Chris. And then Joe Healy give us a little bit of perspective on Oklahoma as well when we chat with him coming up in 20 minutes. Really fired up to tell y'all about our new Thursday sponsor on the show. It's Sigara Farms Premium Beef. I'm going to give you the phone number for Sigara Farms at the end of this. So if you're interested, you'll want to punch this phone number in at the end of the read. But this is a gym just north of Baton Rouge. You're looking about 35 minutes north of Baton Rouge. You're talking about a farm in Sigara Farms that is in the top 1% of premium prime Angus cattle that's served anywhere. And if you're looking for whole sides or whole cows, Sean Sigara and his team at Sigara Farms are here to help you out with that. What they're going to let you do is go up to the farm and look at everything you buy before you buy. You will see marbling that you do not see anywhere else. You're looking for ribeyes, fillets, ground beef, strips, the whole shebang. They got it at Sigara Farms. So give Sean a call at 719-1723. Again, that's 719-1723. If you're a beef person, it's grilling season. I know I am. There is nowhere else you're going to want to go to get your beef than Sigara Farms Premium Beef. We'll be telling you about them each and every Thursday throughout our shows as they are a new Thursday sponsor. It's Sigara Farms Premium Beef. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the New Orleans Saints with Luke Johnson. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Thursday shows brought to you by Sigara Farm Premium Beef. Time to go out to the Jim's Farms hotline, talk to our guy Luke Johnson, covers the New Orleans Saints for The Advocate. Good enough to give us a few minutes here on this Thursday. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on, as always.
It is our pleasure, as always. This is unimportant, I think, to most Saints fans, but not to you, and to an extent, not to me. I'm just curious your thoughts. I'm now listening to Kellen Moore talk a good bit. I don't get the sense y'all are going to get a ton of electrifying quotes. Am I fair in my assessment?
I think that is the assessment I am going to carry into the season. Yes, I'm going to not anticipate getting like anything that is going to really generate headlines for NOLA.com from old Kellen Moore.
So the question is, like, have y'all been able to then determine anything about the way he wants to do business around here, and whether or not that's any different than how Dennis Allen handled business?
No, I don't think you really can from his public statements. You know, I think you can get a sense of what he wants his teams to be based on his history as a coach and what his offenses have been. But in terms of like really like what is his personal philosophy for what this team should look like. I think it's really hard to get a grasp on that before you see it.
I'm curious now, and this is, again, maybe probably a question we can't answer until we see a little bit more, but like, how much influence do you think he has in New Orleans? I think we all feel like Sean Payton carried a pretty big stick when he was walking around. I don't know about Dennis Allen. What's your sense on Kellen Moore?
I think that this is like a really collaborative organization, right? I think like Mickey Loomis is the general manager, but Kai Harley does all the contracts. Mickey Loomis is a general manager, but Jeff Ireland does the college scouting. Michael Parrington handles the pro scouting. And I think that extends to the coaching staff too. I think he's going to have a very loud voice in the room because ultimately he's going to be the one that is calling the shots on game day. Is he going to be Sean Payton, like walking around, like controlling his little kingdom? I don't think so. I just don't think that's who he is as a person. But I do think that his voice is gonna carry a long way in that building, even if it's not like this particularly loud voice.
How ready do you think he is, based on what you've been able to gather?
I think he's pretty ready, man. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, later this month when the story drops. But I've spent a good bit of time lately, looking in on him and the kind of the forces that shape the guy who's the youngest head coach in the NFL. And all of it is really just pointing to me as saying that this guy is ready to do this. And I think some of the things that people are looking at now as potential concerns, drawbacks, flaws, whatever, for a first-time head coach, where we're not able to see it yet in action. I think some of those concerns have been allayed for me a little bit. I think he's truly ready for this. We'll see, obviously. We'll see how it goes. There's so much stuff that is just like outside of a head coach's control. There's so much stuff that we just haven't seen him do yet. We don't know for a fact that he's capable, but I'm feeling a little bit more confident now than I was even the day after his team won the Super Bowl.
So I think one of the things that we've talked about a lot is how many quarterbacks the Saints have interacted with that are in this draft. We've certainly talked a lot about Derek Carr. Kellen Moore's been asked a lot about Derek Carr. What's your sense on what quarterback, the entire situation from Carr to Hainer and Rattler to what this draft looks like to how quickly they want that guy in place? Like, what's your sense on quarterback?
All right, so we'll start with Derek Carr. I think I'm still thinking that I'll be just shocked if he's not the week one starter. But I think as this thing gets further and further along, I would also be surprised if he's the week one starter next year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's really in the long-term vision for Kellen Moore and the Saints franchise. I think the rest of it's harder to figure out. Jake Haener was drafted under, with Pete Carmichael as the offensive coordinator. Spencer Rattler was drafted with Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator. Neither of those guys are here now. Kellen Moore didn't draft those guys. You might want his guy in there. I think the fact that they have an unsettled long-term answer at quarterback means there's a chance that they try to address it this year, maybe with their first-round pick. I think you could argue whether that's the right move with this particular class of quarterbacks. But I think it's definitely something that has to be a part of the consideration for the Saints. And I think it's something that is part of the consideration for the Saints. Personally, I don't feel really comfortable with anybody outside of Cam Ward. And I definitely don't feel comfortable with what it would take to go up and get somebody like Cam Ward. I mean, look at the trade 2 years ago. The last time a team traded up from number 9 to number 1, which is what you'd have to do to get Cam Ward. DJ Moore, who is an electric, established NFL playmaker, a first-round pick, a second-round pick, the next year's first-round pick, which ended up being number 1 overall, and then this year's second-round pick. So you're talking about the waves from that trade have gone on for 3 years, and what the Carolina Panthers got out of it is Bryce Young and no ammunition to build a roster around him. Like, that's what a trade would look like this year if the Saints had to go that high to make that pick. And, I don't know if I really feel comfortable trying to build around a guy with no assets.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really fraught situation. I think if you got to be really careful if you're the Saints, right? Like if you're going to try to pull the trigger on like a blockbuster trade like that, first, like Tennessee has to be willing to listen, and second, like you're going to have to be absolutely certain as you can be in a very uncertain business of scouting quarterbacks, that he's going to be an absolute stud that is going to elevate literally everybody around him. And if you're not going to make that sort of move, I don't know. Like I think everybody else in this class has like a lot of warts, a lot of stuff that would kind of scare me if I was a talent evaluator. And there's just like this is a team that has such a huge need for good young players. Like I don't know if I'd feel comfortable taking a big swing when you could end up with a big miss on your hands.
Here's a question I haven't asked you yet, and I agree with everything you just said. But the question I have is, we feel like Mickey Loomis continues to operate this thing as if the Saints are really close to winning, and no one else on the outside believes that to be the case. I'm curious if you think that shapes the expectation he has for success early in the Kellen Moore era.
It's an interesting question because, like, while he is very much like a guy who sees this team as close, like I think you also have to just acknowledge that this organization is incredibly patient, maybe sometimes to a fault. And like I think if Kellen Moore goes out there and the team falls flat on his face, I don't know if it would be fair of Mickey Loomis to start pointing the finger at the head coach, because at some point, like that's got to get directed back at himself. I made the point on one of our podcasts a couple of weeks ago that like I think this season is going to be a referendum on the roster because he's out here claiming Dennis Allen was a good coach. It never worked with Dennis Allen here. They lost 7 straight games before they fired him, and there's a lot of reasons they came up with that. But if it doesn't work under the guy you handpicked, and a guy who I think widely is viewed as a very good coach in the league, who assembled a really nice staff around him, then that's the roster. That's the roster not being as good as you think it is, and they got to take a serious look at that if that's what ends up happening.
Luke, I know you're taking a couple of weeks, so we'll catch up down the road. Enjoy some time away, and we'll be on the lookout.
Sounds good, buddy. Talk to you before the draft.
Sounds good. That is Luke Johnson, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate. I'll just kind of tease a little bit here. Luke's got a great story coming out on Kellen Moore that you'll definitely want to check out here in the coming weeks. It's not one that's going to be just like 4 inches in your paper. I don't know if anybody even goes by inches anymore because everything's online.
Really?
It's an old writer line.
But I say not only do
how
people,
else would I do word count?
Yeah,
I don't
words.
But I'm not as good with that. I'm not sure what the word count sound. I know it's not going to be 200 words.
No, but either way, the fact that you said inches, when people, not only do people not read the newspaper anymore, but also you only know that
it's going to be a detailed
inches.
Feature story on Kellen Moore.
You only know that it's inches unless you were literally a writer. That's the
right.
only way.
Which I was. So you got to draw from what you got. So yeah, it's going to be a really detailed story, and I can't wait to check that out from Luke. So we appreciate a little bit of time from him. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Sigara Farms Premium Beef. We'll come back with Joe Healy talking SEC baseball. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You do something 30 years, you know what you're doing. Trust the folks at One Bath and Closets with your renovation. Whether it's in the bathroom, whether it's with your closet, they can certainly handle it. If you've got some significant plumbing issues, don't just call the handyman down the street to come over here and try to figure some things out. Send them down to the hardware store, see what you can do. Get a master plumber over there to handle that. And David Vaughn and his team at One Bath and Closets have that. So if you're doing a renovation because you've got faulty equipment in your bathroom, David Vaughn and his team are licensed, bonded, insured. They can handle it from soup to nuts, the entire thing. It'll function, and it'll look great. Check out the pictures at onebathandclosets.com. You can see the great work that they do. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Get that free consultation today. It doesn't cost you anything to chat with David Duvall and his team. And you got financing options available, 0% up to 18 months if you qualify for it. So payment can be made easier for you. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable. And
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
LSU and Oklahoma tonight from Norman. LSU's first trip up there as a conference foe. So looking forward to seeing how that field plays. It's a turf field, and according to folks that have played there, it is really, really fast. It's a fast turf infield, not quite like Dish Falk over there in Austin. Not going to be an intimidating crowd for LSU over the weekend, just about 3,500 in capacity there in Norman. But it's a good baseball team and certainly a great ace on the mound tonight for the Sooners. LSU will counter with one of their own in Cade Anderson. To talk about that and all the action in the Southeastern Conference, it's Joe Healy, he of D1 Baseball's SEC Extra Team. You can find him on Highway to Hoover, wherever you find your podcast, and he's here on Thursdays. Joe, how are you?
Doing pretty well, Hunt. Happy to join you again.
Glad to have you. Let's talk about the standings as a whole. I look at this and I'm going, good grief. Everybody's either 8-1, 1-8, or 0-9. That's like half the league is in that kind of position after 3 weekends. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the result of it is going to be that we've had a lot of discussion about, especially with men's basketball getting 14 teams in, about how this might happen in baseball. And I do think there is a future where we could see that. I just don't think this is the year, just given that the bottom of the league feels like there are some teams that are just going to get caught down there and they're just not going to be good enough to climb their way out. So the middle is not strong enough in this league, I don't think. But I'm not really sure what to say about why this has happened, except that the rich kind of continue to get richer in this league, perhaps. And maybe that's just what it is the top of the league is just so talented now that if you're anything if you're 20% less talented and play like it, you can really dig yourself a hole. But I'm not really sure I totally believe that. So I don't know. It's definitely something I got to think more about. But the result is that this is probably not going to be a record-setting year in terms of NCAA bids for the league.
Pick me an NCAA tournament team of the 1-8s, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and, of course, the Florida Gators. Who can make the tournament from that spot?
Well, I'm going to eliminate South Carolina. I just don't think they have the guys. I think Texas A&M is just kind of a dead team walking right now, so I'm going to eliminate them. I guess I'll still go Florida, but I believe that less and less as time goes on. And the reason I believe I'm picking Florida here is less because of the players and more because they've already played Tennessee and Georgia. And so I feel pretty good about the rest of their schedule just relative to what it could be. But they're losing guys left and right. Cade Curlin now done for the year. Liam Peterson missed a start again. Pierce Capola's kind of been one of those mystery injuries where nobody seems to have any sort of information, which always kind of makes me a little bit nervous. But they've already played, two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league, and they're still crazy talented at a lot of positions. So if you made me pick one, I'm going that direction. But, man, I don't feel great about it, certainly.
Let's go to the action this weekend, and we'll start with the home team here as they play on a Thursday night once again. LSU with 4 of the 10 weekend series Thursday to Saturday this year. They'll head to Norman to play Oklahoma. Kyson Witherspoon and Kate Anderson tonight. What are your impressions of Oklahoma the first year in the SEC?
Yeah, they really held their own. I did think, now this program's come a long way just in a short period of time in terms of getting better, so I thought they were pretty well prepared to compete, but you never know. I thought there was a scenario where they'd get in the league and maybe it would be like, oh, okay, they still have some room to grow here and some ground to make up, but that really hasn't been the case. I mean, they've been in pretty much every game they've played. I think they've come out of it nicely to where they're still in position. Hey, you continue to win at this clip, you're going to be talking about hosting. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I think they're in good shape from that standpoint. Pitching staff after Kyson is a little bit of a question mark at this point, which is not what I expected to be saying, because that was the part of their game that I think folks felt best about going into the year, myself included. But Malachi, his brother, just hasn't been very consistent in the rotation. The Cam Johnson experience for Oklahoma has not gone a whole lot better in conference play than it did last year at LSU. Jason Bowden was supposed to be one of their big bullpen arms, and he's never really totally come around. They've got some bright spots on the mound, too. Don't get me wrong. Kyson, Dylan Crooks is a really talented pitcher. So they've had some positives, but it hasn't all been sunshine and rainbows there in a way I think they thought it would. The offense has overachieved, I think, their talent level to my eyes. So I do think there is a little bit of reversion to the mean perhaps happening right now. And as SEC play continues, they've dealt with injuries at the top with Trey Gamble. He left a game last weekend again. When he's been in the lineup, he's been their biggest catalyst. The big thing is, you're just going to have to be able to slow down the running game. Some teams have been able to do it. South Carolina was able to do it, even though their catching situation isn't great. So you can do it, but if you don't do it, you're going to be in for a long weekend.
Yeah, LSU will start with a lefty with a really good move this weekend. That's a good place to start from. But the rest of the guys, I'm a little bit concerned with Oklahoma, so we'll see how that all shakes out. Let's look at other places in the conference this weekend. Top 5 matchup in Austin, Georgia and Texas in a battle of 8-1s. How big a deal is it, first, that Texas is losing last year's Big 12 Player of the Year for the rest of the regular season? And then, 2, how do you handicap this weekend?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think it's big on the injury front, just because he's so much of a centerpiece of what they're doing there. Because besides him, you've got some guys who are really talented but inconsistent, like Will Gasparino, who was the SEC Player of the Week last week, but could also just as easily go 2 for 20 this week, right? You've got Jalen Flores, who's a nice offensive player, but isn't the run producer that some others are. And when you add in the fact that Rylan Galvan, their catcher, took a foul tip off his hand, and so he's been DHing, and that kind of moves the lineup around. And Adrian Rodriguez, their talented freshman third baseman, they're kind of 50-50 on whether he's coming back this weekend. So right now they just are really kind of beat up. And so given that, I really like Georgia's chances here, because I also think, in addition to Georgia just being so dangerous offensively, I do think they're starting to move in the right direction on the mound. It's not perfect, but moving Brian Curley into the rotation has helped. Colton Smith hasn't given up a run in SEC play yet. If he's not in the rotation this weekend, I think he will be soon. So again, they're still working through some things, but I think they're headed in the right direction on the mound. So even with a road series, first time Georgia's ever been to Austin. I was kind of surprised to find that out, but first time they've ever played in Austin. But I think they're going to be able to handle business there.
The winner of that weekend has got such an incredible springboard to a national seed. I mean, you're talking about somebody that at the very minimum would be 10-2, 12 games in. It would be hard to mess up a top 8 seed from that spot.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit last year of very different teams. I'm not comparing the teams or the talent. I'm just comparing the place in the standings they are. Last year, Kentucky got out to that really quick start right up until they lost that series against Tennessee midway through. And it was, for someone like me who was, a little bit skeptical on if they'd be able to live up to the previous year, it was kind of a realization to me of, they're going to have to fall on their face to really not be a national seed here. And, of course, we saw that they were. But it feels pretty similar to me where, yeah, to your point, you come out of that weekend with a series win, and it feels like, man, things would really have to get sideways on us for us to not end up playing, home baseball the first 2 weeks in June.
Joe Healy's with us every single Thursday. D1 Baseball's SEC Extra package you can find online and wherever you find your podcast. Highway to Hoover, always a must listen for me every single week. Ole Miss and Kentucky in Lexington. Ole Miss is a top 10 team right now. They're 6-3 in the league. Kentucky is 4-5 and kind of doing a lot of the things they did last year, but not maybe quite as effectively as they did last year. What do you think about those two teams right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to put it on Kentucky, like doing a lot of the same things, just not quite as well. And I think I've had moments this year where I watch them play, and it makes me appreciate more just that they really got it right with the roster construction the last couple of years, because last couple of years they've made every routine play. The baseball IQ was through the roof. The chemistry was through the roof. Were they the most talented team? Obviously not. But they got it done because of all those intangible things. This year, you kind of remove some of those intangibles from the equation, and suddenly, it's a team that you can't quite count on as much. So I actually think it's one of those deals where with Ole Miss, I think their record is better than they are. I think they're getting away with it a little bit on the mound where they've given up a bunch of runs, but they always seem to score enough. Whereas Kentucky, I think actually because they had some things go against them in Auburn where they could have easily won that series and didn't, I think they actually might be a little better than their SEC record. I think you could easily flip those two teams and it wouldn't look crazy to me. Ole Miss is dangerous, but I think this might be a weekend where they might get got because they really kind of have been skating by a little bit this season, which, look, they don't have to apologize. Like, you have to do that in the SEC. You have to win ugly. And they've shown that they can do that, and I think that's a skill.
This would have been like the premier series in college baseball as of February 14th, and now we look at it as maybe the best team and one of the worst teams in the SEC is Tennessee. Welcomes A&M to Knoxville in a matchup of the College World Series final last year. A&M is scoring some runs over the last 7 days. Do they have a chance to go up there and win 2 games this weekend at all?
I mean, I would put it at something like 5%,
Yeah.
It just, if you want to look for let's make the case here. Like, let's squint and try to figure it out. Like, Liam Doyle's ERA in SEC plays over 6.
Yeah.
So he's not been untouchable. South Carolina touched him up last week, and I like A&M's offense even in its current state more than I like South Carolina's. Marcus Phillips has pitched well, but he's kind of unproven. You've got freshman on Sunday for Tennessee. The offense is very, very good for Tennessee, but it doesn't have a Blake Burke and a Christian Moore, and Gavin Keelan's been hurt. And so could it happen? Sure. But like I said at the top, A&M just feels like such a dead team walking. And I think you saw it a little bit, by the way, in that series last weekend against Kentucky, where, look, no matter what you feel about the way that game was managed by Nick Mingione and his staff to kind of basically run out the clock on the drop-dead time, no matter what you feel about that, the reaction that Michael Early and his staff had from the dugout, I think shows you everything you need to know about how much pressure that staff is feeling. Because, yes, that is frustrating, but also you're down 5 runs in the 8th inning with 2 outs. Like, the idea that is the reason you lost that game, I think is just kind of not the case, but it just does show how tightly wound they are right now.
No question about that. A team that's not very tightly wound is Arkansas. They're just crushing the ball. They play Missouri in Fayetteville over the weekend. It feels like they're knocking on the door of 11-1. How good is this Dave Van Horn team?
Very, very good. And it goes without saying, and I haven't totally put my finger on exactly, is it just that the players are better this year? Is it that, which I think yes is the answer, but is it just that? Is it also that something in the approach has changed? I don't have my finger quite on that. I'm going to go to the series they play in Athens here in a couple of weekends, and maybe I'll get some more answers there. But they're just so good. And obviously, I have no dog in the hunt within the SEC, but it is nice to see that a little bit of indication for Dave Van Horn, because I thought, and I was kind of lurking in this area before, but I'm glad I didn't go all in on maybe things have changed in Fayetteville. So it is kind of nice to see that Dave Van Horn still knows what he's doing. That's kind of a nice thing to know that things haven't changed that much. But yeah, if they're going to hit like this, it's hard to imagine anybody but Tennessee maybe slowing them down in this league because it's a really, really well-rounded team in maybe a way that only Tennessee in the conference really strikes me.
Arkansas at Missouri, Arkansas at Georgia, they better bring a lot of baseballs to that weekend because they may lose quite a few at Foley Field there. Joe, we appreciate the time. Enjoy the baseball weekend, and we'll talk this week.
All right, on UTC, buddy.
Joe Healy, D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team. As I look around the SEC and I realize that LSU still got to play 3 with Tennessee, still got to play 3 with Arkansas. Oklahoma's a top 10 team. They are. They're not as good as those two teams. And so, those are the tough weekends that are coming. It's just so important to keep stacking wins. And LSU's in a great spot at 7-2. If they can go up to Norman and come back at 9-3, that just would be such a great spot to be in at that point. But that's something you got to go take care of your business with starting tonight. So LSU and Oklahoma, 6:30. I think it's maybe 6 o'clock first pitch. 6 o'clock first pitch. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as time goes on. We'll come back and close out the hour coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every single new purchase of a Genesis at Genesis of Baton Rouge is going to come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Also, 3 years complimentary valet maintenance. So if you're looking to get your oil change, looking to get that air filter replaced, get the wipers done, wiper fluid, whatever the case may be, and that's not your favorite thing to do to knock out a whole morning, let them do it valet. They'll come to you, grab your vehicle, bring it back to the dealership, take care of it, bring it right back to you. That's just part of being a Genesis driver. The location of that dealership, Airline at Piku. Stop on by. If you're in the market for a vehicle in Baton Rouge, you're probably going to be on Airline Highway. Why don't you just stop off and check out the dealership right there at Piku. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can start your car buying process online at any time at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Huge shout out to our new Thursday sponsor, Sigara Farms Premium Beef. Everybody's got something that they really want the highest quality in. So for some people, maybe it's sunglasses. Like, I don't care about sunglasses. I wear mine from the gas station. But some people want to wear high-end sunglasses. For some people, it's wine or the type of beers that you drink. Like, I don't need to get into that either. I'm good with just a cold domestic. But as far as steaks go, like, I want the best. I'm not going to eat just some random generic cheap steak. And if you're like me and you want the finest in beef, Sigara Farms is it, and it's right here north of Baton Rouge. It's just a completely different buying experience with your beef. It's the top 1% in the world right here inside Baton Rouge at Sigara Farms. If you want an experience where you can go to the farm, you can take a look at all the beef, look at the marbling on the ribeyes, the strips, the fillets, even the ground beef. It's already cut, it's wrapped right there for you, and you can leave with whole sides or the whole cow. It's an incredible experience just north of Baton Rouge at Sigara Farms. And here's the deal. There's no deposit, and if you don't like it, you don't pay for it. That's Sean Sigara's promise to you. You got to go meet this guy. You got to go see the farm. You got to go take a look at the beef. I can promise you, you'll be blown away at what they're doing just north of Baton Rouge at Sigara Farms. Give Sean a call at 719-1723, 719-1723 for the finest in prime Angus beef at Sigara Farms. All right, on a completely different note from that, concessions at games. Probably not going to get the finest ribeye at a ball game. Got that, right? But it feels like you're paying for one sometimes when you go to a ball game. And Coastal Carolina's like, we're not going to do that. And Coastal Carolina decided at football games coming up this fall that you're going to get free concessions to an extent. You can choose from hot dogs, fountain drinks, nachos, popcorn, and you can get as much as you want. Now, you get 4 items per trip, but you get unlimited trips. And I don't know how realistic this is for everybody. Coastal Carolina averages about 21,000 fans, and they're probably trying to drag people to come to these games. LSU doesn't necessarily have that problem. The Saints don't necessarily have that problem. But I'm just curious, like, this thing that we've created with concession prices is just so exorbitant. And like anyone who goes to games, like you're paying astronomical prices. It feels like chicken tender basket, $21 with a drink. It just seems like ridiculous. And alcohol prices are so high, no matter almost where you go, if you're not at a Falcons game. And I just wonder if at some point that bubble pops a little bit and comes back down. I realize prices don't often go down. That's not the world of inflation. There's a reason the concession prices were one thing in 1985 and they're one thing in 2025. But it just feels like it's just a lot. And I don't do it often because when I go to Alec Box Stadium in the press box, when I go to Tiger Stadium in the press box, when I go to the Peacock in the press box, I haven't gone to a Saints game in, I don't think, 3 years. So I don't go to a lot of games, but I know a lot of you that listen do. You're sports fans and you're not in the press box, so you're going. And like it's just pricey. Like back when you go to a game, are you less likely today than 5-8 years ago to buy something because you realize what the prices are going to be?
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, like, I'm not gonna get. I may get something.
$8 Coke in the big cup is absurd.
Yeah, I may get something, but I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna go get like a bunch of stuff because it's gonna end up being like $50. But I will say this: like, I went to a couple of women's basketball games, and the way they do it now, it's still not cheap, but like at least you like get your own drinks. I mean, you can get free refills, so that's a plus.
They did the thing on men's basketball on Tuesdays where an hour before tip you got half off or whatever.
That's okay, but it's still I'm trying to eat either before or after a game.
What did they have? just had something, and I saw the concession prices, and they were charging like $18 for a seltzer.
Oh, that was the SEC tournament.
Yeah, it was
for basketball.
Like, come on, man! Like, let's just be reasonable here. And I gotta think, because the Falcons have done this, I have to think if you cut that price from $18 to $7.50, that you would sell.
They have
astronomically more.
Oh, the Falcons have. And they've said that they have made their numbers are better since they went down in price.
I don't know. It just like I was thinking about this. Like I got a beverage at the hotel that we honeymooned at a few years ago, and I was at the pool and I got this like margarita thing, and I think it was like $26. And I'm like, when my kid goes on his honeymoon, is he going to be paying $48 for a drink at the pool?
Probably.
Like, is that where we're going? This is not reasonable.
It's not. But that's the thing. I'm surprised. I'm still surprised that other stadiums have not followed suit for the Falcons when they've literally told people we've made more money doing this.
It's just hard for people to swallow. I guess the one outfit that doesn't care is Augusta.
Yep.
They will be back at it next week, and the sandwiches will be $1.50.
Yep.
And they just don't care. And they're going to sell a lot of sandwiches, I would bet.
And even the beers are what, like $4 or $5?
Yeah, $3.50, $4.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different world over there. But I don't know if this is going to be any sort of trend at all. In fact, it's probably not. But I applaud Coastal Carolina for making things a little bit more reasonable for the people that are coming to watch them play.
We did see some of the smaller schools with the beer runs where they said they're like $2 beers. Like I think UL's like that.
And specials like that. Minor league baseball parks do a great job with it and whatnot. I'm hopeful that there's a little bit more of that coming down the pike. But I don't know that that's going to happen. We'll see. That's it for hour number one. We got a lot to do in hour number two, previewing LSU-Oklahoma. We'll talk to Chris Blair in 20 minutes.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Shams Charania reports Ja Morant of the Grizzlies and Buddy Hield of the Warriors get warnings for gesturing with imaginary guns. Both players were given technicals late in Tuesday night's game. The end of the NBA regular season is just 10 days away now. So who gets your MVP vote? ESPN's Ramona Shelburne.
I feel like I'm voting for Shea because they've just been so far out in front of everyone, and he's led to team success, right? So when it's close, I usually opt for the person who leads to the most team success.
Ramona Shelburne on Clinton and Friends talking about the MVP race between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Patriots will trade quarterback Joe Milton to the Cowboys. Dallas also gets a 7th-round pick. New England will get a 5th-round pick. The city council in St. Petersburg, Florida, votes today to use $22.5 million to start repairs on the roof at Tropicana Field. It was damaged by Hurricane Milton last October.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming on Friday, the Thunder might be heavy favorites to win the West, but I'll tell you why I'm still not sold on SGA & Co. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sigara Farms Premium Beef. Chris Blair, 15 minutes from right now from Norman, Oklahoma. We'll talk some LSU and Oklahoma baseball as they'll get underway 4 hours from now. Up there, I don't even know the name of the stadium, to be quite honest with you. I thought that was the point where I would have delivered the stadium, and I think I know all the stadiums in the SEC. I don't, because I don't know the stadium at Oklahoma. I know that it's small. I know that it's not up to standard for SEC teams. And I know that I hope LSU wins 3 games there this weekend, but I don't know what it's called.
L. Dale Mitchell Park.
Shout out Dale. Probably gave him some cash.
I think we talked about this.
We may have
a while ago. We were trying to figure out.
Did Dale give them cash, or did he play well at Oklahoma?
I remember he was a player a long time ago, maybe something like that.
Not on the team tonight. Not going to help you much.
No, he's not. Let's see. Yeah, it's
L. Dale Mitchell.
Seats 3,180.
That's pathetic.
He played in the 1940s. He holds OU's career and single-season batting records.
Wow. Nobody could step up in the Gorilla Ball era and break old Dale's
40s.
record from the 40s?
Yeah, record in the 40s is standing. That's not a great sign.
Come on, Sooners. Somebody's got to swing the bats.
But hey, they got a new video and scoreboard in left field in 2009.
Boy.
In
2009, that's when the box was built.
And new chair seat backs were added in the 2011-12 seasons. And in
Excellent.
2012,
just in time for John Gray to show up.
And in 2012, a new warning track was installed, as well as field turf.
A new warning track was installed. Wow.
Yep. They
Talk about
42nd.
amenities.
They ranked 42nd in attendance.
Okay. Look, I talked to Chris. He was a little bit, and we'll talk to him in 10 minutes, but he was a little bit surprised when they got to Norman for basketball this year at the facilities. He did not think that it was quite up to SEC standard.
I'll be honest with you. I'm just looking at a picture from the outside, and it doesn't look like much at all, really.
I wonder what does Tulane Stadium seat uptown? Because that feels like a little bit less than 3,000. I would guess Tulane Stadium seats 2,200.
I'm looking.
It's called Turchin Stadium.
Greer Field at Turkin Stadium, 5,000.
No, it didn't seat that last time I was there.
Hunt. The record attendance was 5,200 in 2016. They played LSU.
Okay, it's been since I haven't been there since LSU played there. I mean, in 2014 probably, so it's probably been 11 years.
Okay,
Oklahoma seats half what Tulane seats.
Well, they don't even probably get 3,000.
That's
but
a sad state of affairs.
But Tulane is it's a
good point that Nookie brings up. They played Ole Miss for the title a few years ago.
That is true.
Cade Horton, their ace from that year in the Cubs system. Need to get him up pretty quickly here. He's good. Got a good slider. All right, let's talk about something that I'm interested in. I don't know. There are probably some of you that are like, who gives a rip? But I'm just curious because we all know that LSU's basketball program is not where it needs to be. That's pretty obvious. And they're trying to get it right this year in terms of spending more money and going in the transfer portal. So the question that I had was okay, what are the other schools that are in the Final Four doing? Because I'm not expecting LSU to compete with what Duke is doing, but Houston doesn't have far greater resources than LSU. Yes, they've got Tillman Fertitta. Yes, they've got the Fertitta Center. But you're still talking about just a Big 12 program that got a good coach and has got things moving in the right direction. So it's not apples to apples, but they're not Duke, okay? And then you got Auburn and Florida, who were really apples to apples with LSU. They're football schools that have got big budgets, big athletic programs that have made a commitment to basketball, and they've reached higher highs than LSU recently. So I'm looking at these Final Four teams. I'm going, okay, well, how have they used the transfer portal? Well, Auburn's got 7 transfers that play for them. One of them, Chaney Johnson, played 3 seasons at D2 Alabama Huntsville. He's a big for him. D2. That's way down the line. And then you got Janai Broome, who everybody knows. Janai Broome was the number 471 prospect in the country by 247 coming out. He was from the state of Florida, ended up at Morehead State, then goes to Auburn and becomes a star and is potentially the National Player of the Year. Florida's got 6 transfers on this roster that they play. Duke has got 5 transfers, and one of their transfers is Sion James. And there are probably a good number of you that are listening that know where Sion James comes from. Tulane. 3-star recruit, went to Tulane, at Duke now. Starts. That's not an unreasonable thing for LSU to be able to tap into. They got a guy from Tulane. He didn't play very well. You look at Houston, and they only have 2 transfers on that roster. Kelvin Sampson's done a really good job of grabbing guys from the high school ranks and keeping them in the program. But one of the guys that they start is L.J. Cryer, who was on Baylor's 2021 national championship team, and they got him to transfer over to Houston. Florida, Auburn, and Duke. Not Houston, but Florida, Auburn, and Duke. All 3 of them have mid-major transfers that start for them. That, to me, is eye-opening. Because when you think about elite-level players that compete at the highest level to go to the Final Four, to go to the college football playoff, to go to the College World Series, every single team that's doing that now is using the mid-major ranks. And so I get it when there are LSU fans that look at what LSU's doing well, UNLV, who cares? Why do I care that you got a guy from Northeastern? And I am not suggesting that LSU is getting guys that are going to take them to the Final Four next year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the teams that are going to the Final Four are doing this at a high level, and LSU is not. You've got to identify the guys, which they have not. Well, I can't say that. Maybe they have identified guys they knew could get them to the next level, and they hadn't been able to get them. Maybe they've identified guys that they thought could, and they've gotten them and they couldn't. And that's on identification and development. And maybe this is the answer, throw in a little bit more money at it. One thing that I noticed in reading this story that I found on ESPN.com and going through some of these numbers is Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four 2 years ago. And we know that Dusty May took them and he ended up at Michigan. But whatever happened to that team? Well, I'll tell you. Elijah Martin was on that team. He plays for Florida now. Vladislav Golden played on that team. He followed his coach to Michigan. And John L. Davis was on that team, and he transferred to Arkansas and had a monster game in the NCAA tournament. In their last game, in the Sweet 16, he scored 30. So you had 3 guys on that team that ended up at Florida and Michigan and Arkansas. And independent of LSU, you just have to look at that and be like, that is the new reality. That means that the mid-major is essentially dead. Because theoretically, those guys 5 years ago, 8 years ago, would have played together for 3 years because they're all still playing basketball. And they were on the FAU team that went to the Final Four. They probably would have been on the FAU team for 3 years together. That would have been a really good team. But instead, they're pillaged by the haves. And LSU's just got to get in on the mix on that. Shane LeBlanc in the Bayou Ford chat says the big difference from those teams in LSU, they all have a good coach, huh? LSU doesn't. Well, I don't know that. It's completely fair for you to say that. Completely fair. Matt McMahon's SEC record and overall record at LSU is not good enough. No argument here. None. He did win a lot of games at Murray State. And there are a ton of mid-major coaches that can get it done at that level and move up to the highest level and don't get it done. I've never sat here and said, yep, Matt McMahon is knocking on the door of the Sweet 16, baby. Just give him more time. I've never said that. I've never said he's the answer. I've never said LSU's close. I just feel like it's a reasonable thing to do to see if he can't take the resources and go put a team together that's more capable than the one with no resources. That's all I've said. And I've been painted as a homer and an apologist and all this kind of stuff. I was referred to as the state media yesterday. But I'm just saying, like, I'd like to see him with a full deck of cards. And this is going to be a full deck of cards. And we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, but Hunt, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Here's what I'll say. All these people are saying this now, but like I know that if they go out next year and they win 4 or 5 games in the league, then you're going to say that this is a problem and that they need to move on. Like you're not. It's not like you are going to continue to defend him no matter what.
No, I know. I've always said that, but it's just people have gotten. Most people have grown apathetic. Like I kind of judge the LSU fan base based on my close friend group. None of them, well, 2 of them grinded as hard as I do, and then there's a group of 8 that yes, they know who we're playing in football that next week. Yes, they know who our best defensive players are. When LSU loses 5 basketball games in a row, they are not watching the next 3, and they don't even know who we're playing. And so there's a huge apathetic group. Now we're playing in the NCAA tournament. They're putting their gear on and going to watch the game, and they're locked in. But they will, and I feel like that's a big majority of LSU fans that will tune out of basketball. But there is a vocal group that's ticked, and they're not going to be quote unquote unticked, which isn't a word. They're not going to get happy again until LSU has won some league games. They won't even be happy in November and December of next year if LSU's undefeated, because of what LSU did this year where they played well in the non-conference and then got their butts kicked for 2.5 months in the league. So that's just the nature of where LSU basketball is right now, and I get it. But I'm going to give this a chance, and I'm going to pay attention to the guys that they sign in this portal class. Just saw that Virginia had a guy transfer to Louisville who was just an elite shooter, 42%.
Louisville, man.
That's the guy I want.
Yeah.
That is the guy I want. Now, I have no reason to believe that this Virginia transfer who went to Louisville ever even gave LSU a phone call. But that's the kind of guy I want. And that's the guy that I hope they get coming up next. We'll see. All right, that's LSU basketball and transfer portal basketball for the day. We'll take a timeout, come back with Chris Blair from Norman when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is that website. Look, storm season's always around the corner. And the time to consider what your insurance program looks like is not after the storm blows through. You start reading the fine print. Do you have the right business interruption? Do you even know what that is? Do you have the right limits? Can you avoid co-insurance penalties? If you don't know what co-insurance penalties are, that's probably on your broker. You probably should, because they can be real uncomfortable if you've got a property claim and you're not properly insured because you were trying to cut funds on your premium. Those are the type of things that aren't fun to talk about, but it's important. And the Highland Insurance Group will have those discussions with you. You can be promised one thing at the Highland Insurance Group, and it's that your policy is going to be placed appropriately, and it's going to respond appropriately when that claim happens, whether it's a storm like I just talked about, whether it's a car accident, whether it's a lawsuit, cyber breach. That's what the Highland Insurance Group is here to do. Jonathan Carver and his team are phenomenal in terms of their expertise. Just let them audit your policies for free. It doesn't cost you anything. They'll tell you what they find. If it's really good, leave it there. If it's not, you need to fix it. And the Highland Insurance Group will do that for you. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online, highlandig.com.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Airtime from Norman, Oklahoma, 5:30, first pitch, 6 o'clock. You can listen to it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. On the call, be the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. Joins us now from Oklahoma. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Just looking out the window, just trying to see if I can see a little bit of sunshine, but not at the moment. But it's dry, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know much about weather. I know how many hours you sat at the box last weekend, and it feels like that's a possibility again. Is it a possibility this weekend with the storms rolling through?
Yeah, I think so. I've been watching since we got here yesterday afternoon. I've been kind of watching the local news and keeping an eye on it. And I think most of the rough stuff nearby, which didn't really hit Norman, was the night before, which would have been Tuesday night. Now, there's just this long line that keeps creeping from the Midwest towards the east. And that's why we got a cloudy sky today. Yesterday was actually pretty. It was a little cold, but, it was blue sky. But it looks like, based on what I'm hearing, it may be a little bit tomorrow and maybe the worst chance on Saturday. But one thing I have been told on my second trip to Norman is very much like Baton Rouge in the sense that what could be looking bad or looking great can turn on a dime. So, we're just keeping our fingers crossed.
No doubt. It sounds like the weather should be pretty good for this one tonight. I don't know if you've been over to the ballpark, but we've been talking about it a little bit. It seems like kind of friends and family only from an SEC perspective, a little bit of a smaller ballpark. What can you tell us about the field LSU will play tonight?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it works. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what Jay and I were talking about Monday night on the show is, everything is there from a field perspective. Is it a show place like we go to a lot of times in the SEC, including the box? Well, no. It's a little more intimate, but again, the downside to that is you got a pretty good team, a top 10 team, and they're pretty excited about baseball. I've certainly known that being out and about in town the last 24 hours or so. So when you have a venue like that, if the crowd shows up this evening, it can become a pretty raucous atmosphere. But I wouldn't say it's the most up to date. But I don't know that players care about that. Once they're locked in, they get there. They just know they got to stand in at home plate and they got to get around the bases.
Cade Anderson's been so good this year. The long ball got him a little bit last weekend against Mississippi State. How do you expect him to respond in the ball game tonight?
It'll be interesting to see because I think Cade Anderson fits well in this matchup. And we talked about it a couple of times over the weekend. Mississippi State, their record's not great at this point, but they do have some pretty good guys in the lineup, and they got some guys that can take a ball out of the ballpark at any given moment, which we saw throughout that weekend. The good news was for LSU, a lot of times they didn't have a lot of guys on base. But I think with Oklahoma, it's a team, I don't want to say it's a carbon copy of what we've been accustomed to of recent years with Kentucky, but they are an aggressive team, and they use everything that you can do in the rule book offensively to try to get people on, get them over, and get them in. And I think that fits well for Cade Anderson because I think not that they can't hit home runs, it's just that I think he can be a little more selective with his pitch mix. If he's got location tonight, the key will be making sure you don't put runners on because once the leadoff guy is on, then everything changes and everything becomes on the table for the Oklahoma offense. And so if you can just, get that going, I think he'll be all right, even if he does get touched by a few long balls, here in game one.
How comfortable do you think Jay Johnson is going from his starter to either Zach Cowan or Kason Evans and letting them finish it twice in a weekend? That's what we saw last week. And you think that's the plan?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was kind of the test. I asked Jay Monday night about, the matchup on Thursday last week where, again, Cade Anderson didn't have his best stuff. It wasn't a total bad outing, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't what we had seen. So somebody's got to come in and pick him up, and they needed 2 outs. They went to Connor Bench, who's typically been a strike thrower. And that's kind of where the issues are in the bullpen. And you and I talked about it Saturday night and into Sunday morning. Got a pretty sporty defense behind you. So when you come out of the bullpen, just throw strikes. I mean, yeah, it's great if you strike guys out and they can't hit your fastball or your wipeout slider's working, but you got a defense behind you. Don't walk them. And I thought that Connor Bench came in, got those 2 outs, and then you're able to hand it over to Zach, and Zach goes 4 full innings and is spectacular. So I think now with what we've seen early on from Cowan, which I think Jay already had a sneaky suspicion of anyway, that's why he's in Baton Rouge now, I think there's no doubt that he's got the confidence that can certainly go an extended outing, especially if LSU's got the lead. I don't think he'd hesitate at all to go ahead and bring him in for 3-4 innings without without a thought. And I think the same thing is true even with a freshman like Kason Evans, because so far he hasn't shown you anything but him delivering when called upon. And he got extended a little bit last weekend when, the margins were very small, as 2-1. I mean, one play here, one good at bat here for Mississippi State, that game completely changes. And you had the confidence and to put him out there, and Kason went out there and delivered. To me, and I did an interview this morning with the flagship here in Norman, and we talked about all the accolades and all the great things, this offense for LSU and Kate Anderson and Ionson's great performance. And, it's pretty easy when you say, what's your biggest concern? Your biggest concern is your bullpen beyond Kason Evans and Zach Cowan. And again, I think it goes back to you just got to get up there and throw strikes. You got a pretty good defense. If they're going to take it 400 feet out of the ballpark, well, that's going to happen in this sport. But it doesn't happen all the time. So, and especially against a team like Oklahoma. Again, they have potential for power. But right now, just allow your defense, get up there, throw strikes, and let your defense play behind you. And that way you're not putting back-to-back walks and hitting batters, and suddenly a solo home run, which will happen in this game, doesn't become a 2 and 3 or 4-run home run.
Ethan Fry is not a guy that I talked about a lot entering the season. He had been on campus for 2 years and had a minimal impact. Of course, as a freshman on a national championship team, you're not going to see a ton of impact. And he got hurt last year and gutted it out, but didn't give LSU much offensively. He's been awesome, even against right-handed pitching. What have you seen from Ethan Fry, and what kind of impact do you think he has moving forward?
Well, knock on wood, I think is, he stays healthy, that's the big difference for me after his first 2 years. Not that, wow, he can really help you offensively. I think we all kind of knew that when he signed and arrived at LSU. But I think that's the missing ingredient that we didn't have, in 2024. I mean, you got a guy like Jared Jones, who everybody's well aware of what he can do anytime he's standing at the plate. And, in that 23 team, as they headed down the stretch of the title, I mean, suddenly you had Tommy White closer up there, top of the order, and then you had Jones in there. So I think Ethan Fry is coming in, and he's the perfect guy to protect a dude like Jared Jones. And not only occasionally, but as we've seen here over the last 5 or 6 games, I mean, he's doing what you want him to do. It's not, every once in a while he's going to run into a baseball and hit a home run. I mean, he's being consistent at the plate with, finding the outfield grass and putting it over the fence. I think his emergence is a key factor in how good this team can be and how far they can go in 2025. And I know that's a lot of pressure on one guy, but when you look at the rest of the lineup, you'd have to ask opposing pitchers and opposing coaches, where is the weak link? Where is that section of this lineup that you feel like, okay, let me get through these first 5 or these first 6, and you just don't have that ability to relax. And you look at last weekend, you look at the midweek this week, the backside of that order, 7, 8, and 9, whether it's Hernandez, or whether it's Reeves, whether it's Braswell, and certainly the consistency of Stanfield. I mean, that having a guy like Ethan Fry makes that lineup very difficult top to bottom.
No doubt about it. One of the guys I've been interested to hear Jay talk about, and he's done it a good bit, is Luis Hernandez, and not only his offensive role, but what he's meant to the pitching staff as well with his defense. I know that you've talked to Jay about Luis. What has that sounded like?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we came into the season, I think we were all like, okay, which guy, it seems like the last couple of years, haven't we been, all right, here's our defensive catcher, and then here when we need an offensive push, we're going to put this guy in. And you never really want to be in a situation where you're sacrificing one for the other. But, those are 2 qualities that are hard to find. Finding a very good, leadership quality in a catcher that also performs behind the plate, that also can give you plenty of offense. Sure, if everybody had one, everybody would be successful like LSU. But I think Hernandez's defense has even surprised Jay Johnson. And, I think when you go back and listen to some of the things he said in fall, as well as the lead up to the opening game, I don't know that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't remember Luis Hernandez being praised for what he's going to be able to do working with the pitchers and how he will receive the pitches and how he will protect the plate and eliminate, some of these more aggressive teams when they want to run on the base pads. And I think that, to me, is what has been the big asset that he has brought to it. And I think he's the everyday LSU catcher. That's what we've seen here of late. That's good to have when you've got some other guys who are going to get continued reps, like a Cade Aaron-Beatty or even a Blaze Priester. But you kind of, to me, are getting, the quintessential catcher when you've gotten the way Luis Hernandez has played so far.
Chris, have a great call this weekend. Safe travels back. We appreciate some time.
Absolutely, man. Hope we get all three in and 3 big wins for the Tigers.
We would like that a lot. He is Chris Blair. You can hear him. And, of course, the longtime SID of LSU baseball, Bill Franquez, on the call tonight. They'll be coming your way pregame at 5:30 and first pitch at 6 o'clock over on Eagle 98.1. I want to remind you our Thursday show is brought to you by Sigara Farms, brand new sponsor here, and we are fired up to tell you about Sigara Farms Premium Beef. It's just north of Baton Rouge, about 35 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. And quite simply, they produce top 1% beef in the country. You're talking about a process that is scientific in nature, and it's labor of love for Sean Sigara up there in Ethel, Louisiana. They raise their cattle on grass. They finish them on grain, talking about aging 45 days to produce premium and prime Angus beef. You buy sides or whole cows, put them in the freezer, and they're always ready for you at home. You can do ribeyes, fillets, strips, ground beef. It's just a completely different experience than just heading over to the local store and grabbing some meat for dinner on a Thursday. You can have the best in beef from Sigara Farms. I've been able to taste Sean's product. It is phenomenal. You need to check it out. You can go up to the farm. You can check out what you're going to buy. They're going to have it cut for you. They're going to have it wrapped for you, and they'll send you home with an incredible load of premium prime Angus beef. It's Sigara Farms. They're our new Thursday sponsor. You can call Sean at 719-1723, 719-1723. That is Sigara Farms. Take a time out. Come back. Let's talk some LSU wide receivers when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar, but instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, Our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Parrish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parrishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
From your hometown, parrishbuilt.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sigara Farms Premium Beef. If you were listening last week, you heard me talking about the best springs that I had kind of seen thus far. And I gave you kind of the disclaimer, like, look, I'm not going to be able to give you anything super concrete here. We're watching some practice, okay? It's not a game. It's not anything that is immediately translatable. I think y'all have been to enough spring football games to realize that it is just that. It's spring football, and there are certainly guys that stand out in the spring that aren't going to impact the fall a lot, and there are certainly some guys that had their issues in the spring that will really come on strong in the fall. But we can just kind of deduce little things here and there from what we watch, some of the lineups that we see, some of the skill sets that we understand. And one of the things that I like about the composition of LSU's wide receiving core is the speed and the over-the-top playmaking ability. Last year, we know that LSU didn't really do that a lot. It was a lot of around the line of scrimmage stuff. It was a lot of intermediate stuff. And LSU was really good at it. They completed as many passes as anybody in the Southeastern Conference. They were the best team in the conference on third downs because of that consistency in the intermediate. They were really efficient at doing that, but it becomes more and more difficult to do when it's all you're doing. And they just weren't an explosive team down the field. And sometimes that happens when your quarterback is not capable of making those throws. That's not the case with LSU. Garrett Nussmeier can make throws down the field, and he wants to make throws down the field. But like Kyron Lacey's not a great deep threat. He's not an elite speed guy. He's not an elite high jumper. He's a productive receiver, really good at contested catches, and had a good career at LSU. But he's not an elite deep threat. Aaron Anderson's not an elite deep threat. There just aren't a lot of elite deep threats that are Aaron Anderson's stature. You can be. Like Rashid Shaheed's not the tallest guy in the NFL, but he's that fast. But Anderson's does his best work around the line of scrimmage and the intermediate stuff. And certainly Mason Taylor, huge focus in LSU's offense last year, not going to beat you over the top. So when you talk about your top three pass catchers not being explosive playmakers down the field, it limits what you can do pushing the ball down the field. And I mentioned Chris Hilton last week as a guy that I think changes that. And I still very much feel that way. But he's not alone. You can't just put a safety over the top of Chris Hilton and feel like you've got LSU licked. Like Barian Brown is as explosive a player and as speedy a player with the ball as there is in the Southeastern Conference. That's evidenced by his kick return success. You don't have a lot of guys that run 4, 5, 6 40s that run a bunch of kicks back for touchdowns. Barian Brown runs a bunch of kicks back for touchdowns because he's usually the fastest guy on the field. We were watching a rep 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, and he ran right by DJ Pickett. Now, Pickett grabbed a little jersey and was able to close because Pickett's an elite speed guy too. But Brown showed that flash when he just flat ran straight past him. And you feel like Nick Anderson provides a deep threat. He certainly did for Oklahoma 2 years ago. Not last year, didn't play very much, but he provides a deep threat as well. He's got a bigger frame, but he's still got big-time speed. And those three guys, I think, can terrify you as a defensive coordinator and as a set of safeties. Anderson's worked a little bit more down the field, but that's not going to be the bulk of his work. And certainly Xavier Thomas and what he's done in the kick return game is explosive as well, but I think more of what Xavier Thomas is going to do with this team is going to be in the jet sweep game. They've put him in the backfield a little bit. They've handed him the ball, and certainly you can use him in the intermediate as well, kind of as a backup to Anderson, I think. But the other guys are legitimate speed threats and deep threats. And LSU had that with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, and it showed. LSU had that with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and it showed. Now, Chase was better deep threat than Jefferson. Jefferson's more of a middle-of-the-field kind of guy. But when you have those guys, it opens everything up. And when you consider how productive LSU was last year in the passing game without the deep threat, thinking about what they could be if they can make that work early in the season is tantalizing. Like, they could be among the best passing offenses in college football. And that's really the goal. And they shouldn't be limited in any way by the personnel they have. There is not anything that you would like to be able to do in the passing game that LSU doesn't have the personnel to do. They've got big frames. They've got smaller and quicker frames. They've got speed and deep threats. They've got tight end weapons, including one in Trey'Dez Green that almost nobody else has. Like, everything you could want in a wide receiving core and a pass catching group, LSU's got. And oh, by the way, they're returning a quarterback who was top 10 in the country in passing yards last year. So that, to me, feels like such a great base to work off of. Now, there are other things that have got to work in unison with that. You have to run the ball a little bit to get to the play action to take the shots. You've got to run the ball a little bit to get those defenders creeping up. You've got to pass protect. We know LSU is elite in pass protection up front. Last year, the new guys that are coming in, whatever group of five it is that they're going to settle on and figure out who's going to be up there, that group has got to block and keep Garrett Nussmeier upright because he's not going to be able to wiggle out of things like Jaden Daniels was and run for 70 yards against Florida or 50 more against Florida, and you understand what I'm talking about here. Other things have to work in unison with that pass-catching group, but when you look at LSU's wide receiver group as a whole, there is nothing that they should not be able to execute in the passing game. It is a complete group of dynamic players with different skill sets, and that is an awesome, awesome thing at Garrett Nussmeier's disposal. One of the names I haven't mentioned yet here that Brambo did in the Bayou Ford chat is Jelani Watkins. It's fun to talk about Jelani Watkins because Jelani Watkins is real fast. He's running track for LSU this spring, and he has been amazing on the track. He hasn't been out there a lot to practice with football and to produce with football. There are a lot of guys in front of him on this depth chart that may make things a little bit difficult to inch toward the front of that depth chart. But it's a nice little insurance policy to have to go, well, if I need to find a guy who runs about a 10 flat 100, we can go find that guy. Again, may not be necessary for this team, but it's there in the rearview mirror. So look at LSU's wide receiving core. They're on spring break this week. Of course, we are on a Thursday, so they've got one more day of spring break away from school, and they're back in action next week. And they did just make the announcement on what all is going on with the spring finale that is to come next week. I got the press release from Michael Bonnet and LSU, and so I'll kind of read part from it here. Starting next Saturday, 9 a.m., football team's going to walk from football ops into Tiger Stadium. They'll arrive at 9:15. The gates will open at 9:30 from Tiger Stadium on the west side only. There will be individual drills starting at 10:35. They'll have two 15-minute quarters of a scrimmage at 11:10. Then they'll have a halftime. They don't really know what the second half's going to look like, but they'll do some of that. Then they'll do an autograph session on the field, and the event will wrap up at 1:40. So if you're a fan and you'd like to be there for all of it, gates open at 9:30 next Saturday, and they'll go until just before 2 o'clock. So that's a look at LSU's spring finale inside Tiger Stadium. All right, let's take one more time out, and we'll close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every single model, from the entry level to the highest end, from the sedan to the SUV, comes with safety awards. And they all come with the exact same safety features on the baseline. You're talking about IIHA top safety picks, some of them IIHA top safety picks plus. Genesis of Baton Rouge is a phenomenal place to start your car buying adventure. You can start online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com, but go by and see them. Step foot on the lot. Let their brand ambassadors walk you through. You'll feel like a guest and not a customer. They're not going to be pushy. They're not going to be super aggressive. They're not going to upsell you. I know that a lot of folks had that impression at car dealerships, and that's rooted in truth. Most stereotypes are. That's not going to be your experience at Genesis of Baton Rouge. It's a luxury experience. It's a luxury vehicle, and it's luxury service after the sale as well. It's all there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the 2025 Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The Dreams Come True Radiothon is also presented by Lewis Mechanical, Patient Plus, and Action Industries, plus Subaru of Baton Rouge, Service Chevrolet, Luba, and Duplessis Pool Builders. Visit 1045ESPN.com to help us reach our goal, and together we can make dreams come true.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sigara Farms Premium Beef. If you'd like to have a freezer full of prime Angus beef, Sigara Farms is the place for you to go. Just north of Baton Rouge. Truly a hidden gem right here in Baton Rouge. If you're sick of quality of beef that's just not to your standard, well, you can fix that. Sigara Farms is in the top 1% nationwide, and it's right here just outside of Baton Rouge. Give Sean Sigara a call, 719-1723. And get you all fixed up. You can go out to the farm, pick out the beef that you're looking for. They'll have it cut for you, have it packaged for, and you can take it right home to the freezer. It's Sigara Farms Premium and Prime Angus beef. All right, LSU and Oklahoma tonight. This is an important game for LSU. If you can win tonight, man, does this thing set up for you, because Kyson Witherspoon is very much the best weapon that Oklahoma has at its disposal. Now, to Oklahoma's credit, they did lose the game that Kyson Witherspoon pitched against Mississippi State, and they won the next two games in Norman against State to win that series. So they can do that, but obviously they'd like to win with the midseason pitcher of the year for D1 baseball. So if you're watching the game tonight and you're a little frustrated that LSU is not riling up 15, 16 runs, that's not really in the cards tonight. Witherspoon is a star. So if you're LSU, you're looking to work that pitch count. You're looking to make sure you see the ball up in the strike zone, because he's going to throw that slider that's going to drop off the table, and you try to work the pitch count and get what you can. Alabama was able to get some hits and knock some runs home early in that game, but the key really is to get him out of the game. And if you can do that after 5 or so innings, you'll really feel like you've got a good chance to win the ball game. So that's a key. You'd like to see Kate Anderson get off on the right foot tonight, keep Oklahoma off base, specifically the leadoff men, because they love to steal bases. And while he's a left-hander and he gives them a little bit of trouble from that perspective, it's going to be a tough game for LSU tonight. There's no question about it. I'm excited to watch. It's 6 o'clock. We're just over 3 hours from first pitch from Norman. All right, let's do some Take It or Leave It, back.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. I don't know if you saw this. Paul Skeens, obviously, unsurprisingly, very good in his start yesterday. But after the game was over, somebody asked him about his appearance in GQ.
I did see that.
Yeah, and he said, quote, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know what GQ was until the offer came, but glad I did it. I mean, how'd I look? Paul Skeens not knowing what GQ is. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Paul's had a lot going on the last few years. He's had an opportunity to play some high-level college baseball, get drafted. He's also, worked with the Air Force. So there's been a lot going on. Not sure GQ was on his radar, but when you date a model that's in GQ, you might end up in GQ, and he did. I don't think anybody's really going to be looking at him in those pictures, but I'm thrilled that he could have the opportunity to do that, like you said, but good at pitching.
All right, next one here. The Oakland, not Oakland Raiders.
Nope, that's incorrect.
There's no Oakland
There's
teams.
no Oakland anything.
No, there isn't. I don't. It's really sad, but anyways, the Las Vegas Raiders signed Geno Smith to a 2-year, $75 million extension. Unsurprisingly, 66 of it is guaranteed, as all contracts now are apparently with quarterbacks. The Raiders signing Geno to $75 million extension. Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Just leave it alone.
I mean, they're not very good. He's not that good. They'll be not very good together. So you're in a division that is really good. You got a great coach now in LA with the Chargers. You've got the standard in the sport with the Chiefs. The Broncos have got a really good coach, and they made the playoffs last year. The Raiders stink, and they got a mediocre quarterback. And that's just part of the rat race of trying to find your next quarterback. The Saints are in the middle of it as well. The Raiders, I don't think, have got their answer there.
All right, last one here. Seiya Suzuki hit 2 homers yesterday for the Cubs in a 10-2 win over the Athletics.
That's right.
Oakland Athletics.
That's correct.
And not Las Vegas Athletics.
Not yet.
Not Sacramento
They do have
Athletics.
the Las Vegas city logo on their sleeve.
They do. They're not the Sacramento Athletics, though. However, even though they are playing in Sacramento, they are not the Sacramento Athletics. They're simply the Athletics, hon.
Great.
That is their name. 45 homers for Seiya. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that. He's going to get hurt.
Wow, hon, that's pretty rude.
That's what he does. He gets hurt. He's a great hitter, but he gets hurt. It's just it's part of it. Did you check the forecast for Chicago over the next 5 or 6 days?
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's cold.
Yeah.
The high on Monday when they're playing a night game is like 39.
This is what you have with the Cubs in their first month and a half of home
they
games.
spent the first 2 weeks away from home. And now they're going to go home, and it's going to be real cold.
And probably windy, too, because usually it's windy.
It's the Windy City is what I'm told.
Yeah,
That's what I'm told.
That's actually not why it's called the Windy City, though.
Because of the wind?
It's not why it's called that.
Why is it called that?
It's because it became popular because people called all of the politicians windbags.
Ah.
And they said all the politicians in Chicago were windbags, so it became the Windy City.
I feel like every city could be the Windy City, though.
How many architecture tours have you been on?
2.
They say that on every single one.
You think I'm listening?
Obviously
They got
not.
beer on there. I'm going through the Chicago
gosh.
River. I'm not really listening to that. It's
Wow.
not really about the tour guide, the Chicago
Well,
Fire, or whatever.
I'm disappointed that you aren't paying attention in
You got
these
cold
architecture
pops and
tours.
gorgeous views. I'm not trying to listen to the windbag politicians.
All right, well, you would have known that if you'd have listened, but that's all right.
Maybe next time. I'm sure I'll go on it again.
Yeah.
But probably won't listen again. Just a hunch. Love Chicago. And I just found out my buddy booked a trip to go up there with his kids. And I was thinking, I have not been to Chicago since 2021. No, sorry, 2022 is the last time I went. And I don't think I'm going to go again till maybe 27.
Oh, wow.
Which is just a real bummer. That's
pretty
5
sad,
years. That'll
dude.
be my longest go without going to Chicago.
I'm going
since
in
I was
the end
little.
of May, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it warms up, which it may not.
It's the very end of May, so it
hopefully
should be.
I've done May before, and it was 80 one day and 35 one day and 70
We don't
one day,
need that.
so.
Let's just maybe 70. That'd be good.
Me and my dad had to go buy jackets because we didn't bring any because we're not all that bright. It was May. We didn't think we needed jackets. We needed jackets. All right, LSU and Oklahoma tonight. Let's hope they get it done. I'll be at Red Stick Sports tomorrow. Looking forward to that. We'll talk to Preston Guy and Koki Riley up there from Norman. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further View. We're back tomorrow, same time, different place. We'll see you then for a Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool that crisp, refreshing